The forest was silent except for the crunch of boots on dirt, and then the scream. Cole Evans froze mid-step, his hand still gripping the wire snare he just checked. Empty again. 3 days without a decent meal, and now this. A human scream, raw and terrified, echoing through the Blackwood Canyon like a death cry. He should run. He should disappear deeper into the pines where no one could find him. That's what 19 months of living as a ghost had taught him. Stay invisible, stay breathing. Ranger Clint had made his position clear 2 weeks ago when he pressed the barrel of his service pistol against Cole's temple and hissed, "Next time I see a rat face in my park, I'm putting you in the ground and calling it self-defense." But the scream came again, closer now, followed by a sound that made Cole's blood freeze, the dry, rattling percussion of a timber rattlesnake's warning. His feet moved before his brain caught up. He grabbed the hunting knife from his belt and sprinted toward the sound, his camouflage jacket snagging on branches as he crashed through the underbrush. 200 yards. 150. The screaming had stopped, replaced by desperate, gasping sobs. Cole burst into a small clearing and saw her. The girl couldn't have been more than 19, sprawled in the dirt beside a boulder, her leg twisted beneath her. 20 feet away, coiled in a patch of sun-warmed stone, was the biggest rattlesnake Cole had ever seen, easily 5 feet long, thick as a man's forearm, its triangular head raised and swaying. The rattle continued its bone-chilling buzz. "Don't move!" Cole breathed, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to the girl or himself. She looked at him with wild, pain-glazed eyes. It bit me. Oh God, it bit me." Cole saw the puncture marks immediately. 2 dark holes just above her left ankle, already surrounded by spreading purple discoloration. Black veins were beginning to web up her calf like cracks in glass. Neurotoxic venom. She had maybe 30 minutes before her nervous system started shutting down. He grabbed a fallen branch and advanced slowly on the snake. "Hey! Hey!" He slammed the branch against the boulder. The snake's head tracked him for a moment, tongue flicking, then it uncoiled with liquid grace and slithered into the rocks. Cole dropped to his knees beside the girl. Her skin was already clammy with shock sweat. "What's your name?" "Jade." Her teeth chattered. "Jade Thorne." "My phone, no signal." "I tried." Thorne. The name meant nothing to Cole. He checked her leg again. The swelling was accelerating, the tissue already tight and hot to the touch. Standard protocol said immobilize the limb, keep the victim calm, wait for emergency services. But they were in the dead zone, the deepest part of Blackwood where cell towers couldn't reach. The nearest ranger station was 4 miles of brutal terrain away. An airlift would take 45 minutes minimum, and that was if someone had already called it in. She didn't have 45 minutes. "Listen to me," Cole said, forcing his voice steady. "I need to get the venom out. It's going to hurt, and what I'm about to do, it's risky. But if I don't do it," Jade gasped. "Please. I can't, my hands are tingling." "Is that bad?" It was very bad. Cole pulled out his knife, the same blade he used to skin rabbits and cut kindling. He wiped it on his shirt, not sterile, but it would have to do. His hand shook as he positioned the tip near the bite marks. He'd read about this in an old wilderness survival manual he'd found in an abandoned ranger cabin. Every modern medical source said don't do it. The risk of infection, of causing more tissue damage, of the rescuer ingesting venom themselves, all of it screamed that this was wrong. But wrong and dead were 2 different things. He made a small incision between the puncture marks, barely deeper than a paper cut. Blood welled up, dark and viscous. Jade whimpered but didn't pull away. "Stay with me," Cole said. Then he lowered his mouth to the wound. The taste was immediate, copper blood mixed with something bitter and chemical. He sucked hard, drawing the contaminated blood into his mouth, then turned and spat violently into the dirt. Again. Again. His lips began to tingle, then burn. He was absorbing some of the venom through the soft tissue of his mouth, he knew, but there was no other choice. After the 5th draw, he tore a strip from his shirt and bound it tightly above the wound. Not a tourniquet, that would cause more damage, but enough to slow the venom spread. Jade's eyes were starting to flutter. Cold, so cold. No, you don't. Cole grabbed her face. Stay awake. What's your favorite color? What? Your favorite color. Tell me. Purple. Purple's my favorite. Her voice slurred. Cole's ankle screamed as he lifted her. He twisted it badly on the way down, but he gritted his teeth and stood. Jade was dead weight in his arms, her head lolling against his shoulder. 120 pounds felt like 200. His legs shook. 4 miles. Through terrain that had taken him 30 minutes to navigate unencumbered. With a dying girl on his back and poison working its way into his own bloodstream. Daddy's gonna kill you, Jade mumbled deliriously. You don't know who he is. Stay awake, princess, Cole grunted, stumbling forward. Tell me about your daddy. She didn't answer. Her breathing was getting shallow. The first mile was agony. The second was hell. By the third, Cole couldn't feel his face anymore. The venom he'd absorbed was making his lips and tongue swell. His vision swam. He fell twice, catching himself on his hands and knees to keep from dropping Jade. The second time, he screamed into the dirt, a wordless roar of pain and frustration. Get up, he snarled at himself. Get up. Sarah's face flashed through his mind, his kid sister, 14 years old, drowning in the lake while he'd been too drunk to notice until it was too late. He'd failed her. He'd failed to save someone who mattered. Not again. Never again. Cole forced himself to his feet and kept walking. Through the haze of exhaustion, he heard it, an engine. The distinctive rumble of Ranger Clint's truck on the fire trail ahead. Cole's heart sank. Of all the people to run into. He stumbled out of the tree lean onto the dirt road just as Clint's green Park Service truck skidded to a stop. The driver's door flew open and Clint emerged, his hand already on his holstered pistol. Well, Clint drawled, his weathered face splitting into a cruel smile. If it isn't the little rat I warned about trespassing. She's snake-bit, Cole gasped. Timber rattler. She needs a hospital, now. Clint's eyes traveled from Cole's swollen, bloody mouth to the unconscious girl in his arms, to the blood staining her jeans. His smile widened. That what you're calling it? Snake-bit? He drew his weapon, a Glock 22, and aimed it at Cole's chest. Looks to me like you attacked this girl. Dragged her into the woods. Did God knows what to her. Are you insane? Cole's voice cracked. Look at the bite marks. Look at her leg. I see a vagrant covered in blood standing over an unconscious woman, Clint said coldly. I see a clear threat that I'm authorized to neutralize. He thumbed back the hammer. Set her down. Hands on your head. She'll die. Then she'll die. But at least I'll finally have an excuse to clean up this park. Clint's finger moved to the trigger. I said set her. Cole didn't think. He grabbed the only weapon he had, a fist-sized rock at his feet, and hurled it at Clint's face. The Ranger jerked back, the gun firing wild, the bullet whining past Cole's ear. Then Cole was running. His legs screamed. His lungs burned. Jade bounced limply against his shoulder as he crashed through the brush toward the steep embankment that led down to Highway 14. Behind him, Clint's roar of rage echoed through the trees, followed by the crack of another gunshot. The slope was nearly vertical, loose shale and dead pine needles offering no purchase. Cole didn't slow down. He jumped. They tumbled. 30 feet of brutal, chaotic descent, Cole's back slamming against rocks, branches tearing at his face. He kept his arms locked around Jade even as the world spun and his head cracked against something hard. Then they hit the bottom, rolling onto blessed flat asphalt. Cole lay there, gasping, his vision swimming with black spots. Above, he could hear Clint scrambling down the slope, cursing. The highway stretched empty in both directions. Empty except for the sound building in the distance. Not sirens. Not the whine of an ambulance. Thunder. The deep, primal roar of V-twin engines. Cole lifted his head and saw them, a line of motorcycles cresting the hill, at least 20 strong, moving in tight formation like a cavalry charge. The lead bike was a massive black and chrome Road King, and the man riding it looked like something carved from granite, broad-shouldered, gray-bearded, wearing a leather vest covered in patches. The patches of the Hells Angels. The motorcycles formed a circle around Cole and Jade, engines cutting off in synchronized silence. The lead rider dismounted slowly, his boots hitting the pavement like hammer blows. He was easily 6'3", 240 pounds of muscle and menace, with cold blue eyes that had seen things most people only had nightmares about. Those eyes locked onto Jade's pale, unconscious face. Something flickered there, something that might have been fear on a lesser man. "Jem," the big man breathed. He looked at Cole, and his expression went from fearful to murderous. "What did you do to my daughter?" Cole tried to speak, but his swollen tongue wouldn't cooperate. All that came out was a slurred grunt. "Step away from her. Now." The biker's hand moved to his belt, where a Colt .45 rode in a leather holster. "I won't ask twice." "Stop!" Clint's voice rang out from the embankment. The ranger appeared at the top of the slope, his uniform torn and dirty, his gun raised. "Officers of the Hells Angels! I'm Ranger Clint Hodges, and I witnessed this vagrant attack your daughter. I've been pursuing him for the last mile. I need you to step back and let me handle this." The big biker, Slade Viper Thorne, though Cole didn't know it yet, turned slowly to look at the ranger. His hand stayed on his pistol. "He attacked her?" Slade's voice was quiet. Dangerously quiet. "Affirmative," Clint said, scrambling down to the road. "I found them in the woods. He had his mouth on her. Blood everywhere. She was trying to scream, but—" "You're lying," Cole managed to croak. His voice sounded like he'd swallowed gravel. "Rattlesnake. I sucked the venom. Saved her. Listen to him." Clint laughed. "He's delirious. Probably high. Sir, I know you want to handle this yourself, but this is a law enforcement matter. Let me take him into custody." "Dad." The word was barely a whisper, but it cut through the tension like a blade. Jade's eyes flickered open, glassy and unfocused. Her hand reached out, trembling, and found Cole's blood-stained jacket. Her fingers curled into the fabric. "Dad, not him, Snake, he saved." Slade knelt beside his daughter in an instant, his massive hands cradling her face with surprising gentleness. "Jem. Baby girl. What happened?" "Hiking off trail." Each word was an effort. "Big snake. Bit me. This boy, he ran to help, sucked the poison, carried me." Her eyes focused on Cole for a moment, clear despite the venom. "He risked his life. Dad, he saved me." The silence that followed was absolute. Slowly Slade stood. He turned to face Ranger Clint, and something in his expression made the color drain from the ranger's face. "You were saying?" Slade's voice was silk over steel. She's confused, the venom." "My daughter," Slade interrupted, "has never lied to me in her entire life. Not once." He took a step toward Clint. "But you were going to let her die, weren't you? So you could put a bullet in this boy and call it justice. I don't have to listen to this." Clint raised his gun. "I'm a federal officer, and I'm telling you all to." Slade moved faster than a man his size had any right to. One moment Clint had the gun raised, the next Slade had closed the distance and caught the ranger's wrist in a grip like a vice. There was a wet crack, and Clint screamed as his wrist bent at an unnatural angle. The Glock clattered to the pavement. "Federal officer," Slade repeated softly. He picked up the gun with his free hand and ejected the magazine, then threw both pieces into the brush beside the road. "Let me tell you what's going to happen, officer. You're going to go back to your station. You're going to write a very detailed report about how you failed to respond to an emergency. And then you're going to resign. Tonight." "You can't." Tomorrow morning. Slade continued as if Clint hadn't spoken. You're going to pack your bags and leave this county. If I ever see you again, if I even hear your name, my brothers and I are going to have a very long, very educational conversation with you about what happens to men who threaten children. He leaned in close. Do we understand each other? Clint's face had gone the color of old snow. He nodded frantically. Good. Slade released him. Now get out of my sight. The ranger fled, stumbling back up the embankment, cradling his shattered wrist. Slade turned back to Cole, who was still sitting on the pavement, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The biker's expression had softened slightly, though his eyes were still calculating. What's your name, kid? Cole. Cole Evans. You got any people, Cole? Cole shook his head. No, sir. Just me. Where do you live? The forest. Wherever I can find shelter. Slade studied him for a long moment, took in the matted hair, the threadbare jacket, the lean, hungry look of someone who'd been surviving on scraps and willpower. Then his eyes dropped to Cole's swollen, blood-crusted mouth. You sucked the venom out, Slade said. It wasn't a question. Had to. No cell service out there. She would have died waiting for help. You know that's supposed to kill you too, right? Absorbing venom through your mouth? Cole shrugged. Better than doing nothing. Something like respect flickered across Slade's face. He looked back at his daughter, who was being examined by another club member, a lean, tattooed man who turned out to be a former army medic. The medic gave Slade a thumbs up. Her vitals were stable. The venom was still in her system, but the worst had been drawn out. She's gonna need antivenom at the hospital, the medic said. But she'll make it. Kid did good. Slade nodded slowly. Then he looked at Cole again, and this time his expression was something Cole had never seen directed at him before: gratitude. You took poison from my blood, Slade said quietly. You carried my whole world on your back through 4 miles of hell, with a corrupt cop trying to kill you. He held out his hand. The Hell's Angels don't forget debts like that. Cole took the hand and let Slade pull him to his feet. His legs almost gave out, but another biker steadied him. Get them both to County General, Slade ordered. Full escort. And someone call ahead, tell them we're coming in hot and they'd better have beds ready. 3 days later. Cole woke in a hospital bed with clean sheets, and 4 in his arm, and no idea where he was. The last thing he remembered clearly was the emergency room. Bright lights, people in scrubs, someone shouting about venom levels and kidney function. A nurse noticed him stirring and smiled. Welcome back. You've been out for 2 days. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. His voice was still raspy, but the swelling in his throat had gone down. The girl. Jade. Is she? 2 floors up, doing fine. The antivenom worked. She was asking about you. The nurse checked his vitals. You're a lucky young man. Another hour of that venom in your system and you would have needed dialysis. After the nurse left, Cole stared at the ceiling and tried to process what had happened. He'd saved someone. Actually saved them. The thought felt foreign, like trying on clothes that didn't quite fit. The door opened again, and Slade Thorne walked in. He looked different without his riding leathers, wearing jeans and a black t-shirt that showed arms covered in faded tattoos. But he still moved like a predator, all controlled power. You're awake. Slade pulled up a chair. Good. We need to talk. I'll be gone as soon as they discharge me, Cole said quickly. I know I'm not. I don't belong in places like this. I'll go back to the forest, and you'll never. That's not what I came to discuss. Slade leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I did some asking around about you. Turns out you've been living rough for almost 2 years. Before that, you were in foster care in Nevada. Before that. He paused. Before that, you had a little sister who drowned. Sarah, age 14. You tried to save her, but you were too late. Cole's chest tightened. How did you? I'm the president of a motorcycle club. Slade said simply. Information is currency. But here's what I also learned. Every foster home you were in after that, you protected the younger kids. Took beatings meant for them. Shared your food. One family said you gave your winter coat to a 6-year-old and nearly got frostbite yourself. He sat back. You've been trying to save people for a long time, Cole. Trying to make up for the one you couldn't save. Doesn't matter, Cole said hoarsely. Sarah's still dead. Yeah. She is. And that's something you're going to carry forever. Slade's voice was gentler now. But you saved my daughter. You risked your life without knowing who she was or what it would cost you. That tells me something about your character. I'm nobody, Cole said. I'm just. You're someone who put his mouth on a venomous wound and sucked out poison to save a stranger. You're someone who carried a dying girl 4 miles on a busted ankle while being hunted by a man with a gun. Slade stood and pulled something from his pocket, a folded piece of leather. The Hells Angels don't give a damn about who you were, kid. We care about who you are. He unfolded the leather. It was a vest, a prospect cut, black leather with the winged death's head logo of the Hells Angels on the back, and a bottom rocker that read, Prospect, in bold white letters. This is a prospect patch, Slade said. It means you're being considered for membership in the club. It's a trial period. You'll work, you'll learn, you'll prove yourself. Some prospects wash out. Some become full members. But everyone who wears this patch is under the protection of the club. Nobody touches you. Nobody hunts you. Your family. Cole stared at the vest. I don't understand. Why would you? Because you bled for my daughter, Slade said simply. Because when you had every reason to run and save yourself, you stayed and did the right thing. Because this club was founded on loyalty and brotherhood, and you showed both without even knowing what they meant. He held out the vest. The question is, do you want a family, Cole? A real one? Cole's hands shook as he reached out and took the leather. It was warm, soft from wear, and heavier than he expected. He thought about the forest, the constant cold, the endless hiding from rangers and police who saw him as trash to be disposed of. He thought about Sarah, and the promise he made at her grave that he never failed to help someone again. I want to belong somewhere, he whispered. Then welcome home, Prospect. Slade gripped his shoulder. Get some rest. When you're discharged, we'll get you set up at the clubhouse. You'll have a bed, meals, and work. Honest work. And Cole? Sir? Ranger Clint resigned 2 days ago. Turned in his badge and left the county. He won't be bothering anyone in Blackwood Forest anymore. Slade's smile was cold. Just thought you'd want to know. After Slade left, Cole sat in the hospital bed holding the vest, running his fingers over the patches. For the first time in 2 years, he felt something he'd almost forgotten. Hope. 1 week later. The Hells Angels clubhouse was a sprawling compound on the outskirts of town, part warehouse, part fortress, all brotherhood. Cole had been given a room in the prospect quarters, small but clean, with a real bed and a lock on the door that only he had the key to. Today was patch day. The main hall was packed with members, easily 40 bikers, their cuts displaying decades of service and scars. Jade sat in the front row, her legs still in a brace but her smile bright. She'd visited Cole every day in the hospital, bringing books and terrible jokes and stories about growing up as the daughter of a motorcycle club president. Slade stood at the front of the room, flanked by the club's officers. Brothers, he called out, and the room fell silent. We're here to recognize someone who embodies what this club stands for. Cole Evans stepped forward. Cole walked to the front, acutely aware of every eye on him. His prospect vest felt heavy across his shoulders. 3 weeks ago, Slade continued, this young man risked his life to save my daughter. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what he'd gain or lose. He just knew another human being needed help, and he acted. Slade's voice grew stronger. He sucked venom from a rattlesnake bite, absorbing poison into his own body. He carried her 4 miles through hostile terrain. He stood up to a corrupt authority figure who wanted him dead. And when he had every opportunity to run and save himself, he stayed. Slade pulled out a folded leather vest, this one with the full patch, the top rocker reading Hell's Angels, and the bottom rocker displaying their charter city. Cole Evans, Slade said formally, the Hell's Angels Motorcycle Club votes to grant you full membership. You are no longer a prospect. You are a brother. The room erupted in applause and cheers. Cole stood frozen as Slade removed the prospect vest and helped him into the full member cut. The leather settled onto his shoulders like armor, like home. Thank you, Cole said, his voice thick. I don't know what to say. Say you'll ride with us, Slade replied. Say you'll stand with your brothers. Say you'll protect the weak and punish the wicked. His eyes gleamed. Say you'll be the kind of man who runs toward the screaming instead of away from it. Cole looked out at the room full of bikers, men and women who'd lived hard lives, who'd seen darkness and come through it, who'd chosen to build something better. His family now. I will, he said. Jade stood and hobbled forward on her crutches. You saved my life, Cole Evans. I'm going to spend the rest of mine making sure you know you're worth saving too. She hugged him, and the room cheered again. Later, as the celebration wound down and the beer flowed, Cole stood outside the clubhouse looking up at the stars. Slade joined him, lighting a cigar. You thinking about the forest? The older man asked. Thinking about Sarah, Cole admitted. Wishing she could see this. She sees it, Slade said quietly. And she's proud. You didn't let her death make you bitter. You let it make you brave. He blew smoke into the night. That's the difference between a survivor and a hero, kid. Cole touched the patch on his chest, the death's head, the wings, the words that now defined him. I won't let you down, he said. I know, Slade replied. That's why you're wearing the patch. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled. Once, that sound had meant danger, loneliness, survival at any cost. Now it just sounded like the world calling, full of challenges to face and people to protect. Cole smiled. He was home.